Step 12, determinations of recruits. For all recruits, we need to add an extra column called original identification. This is the name as recorded in the field. It can include typos, morphospecies, vernacular names, anything. It's just exactly as it was written in the field. The easiest way to do this is to copy the species column and rename it. You don't need to worry about the non-recruits here. Their original identification won't be overwritten when we upload these. The database only recognises original identification data for trees that are completely new to the database. So, right, now we've preserved the original identification, we want to check the family and species for all of our recruits. So I'm filtering our data to just show the recruits. Now we need to check that each of these has a family and a species. The family needs to be standardized to APG3 and the species is actually it's binomial, genus and species. Any blanks need to be filled in. If we don't know the identification, we just use indet. In this case, we can also fill indet into original identification because the original identification is unknown. And in the species column, we need to enter a binomial, so it's indet, indet. Here we have a family, but no species binomial. So again, this is indet. And the original identification is Laraceae. Okay, so now we leave original identification as it is and just check the species. Okay, so here we have a morphospecies. Instead of species 1, we'll enter indet. And instead of unknown, we enter indet, indet. Okay, so now we've got a family and a species binomial for all of our recruits. You then need to check all of these names before we're ready to upload. We recommend using the Taxonomic Name Resolution Service for South American data, the plant list for Asian data, and the African flowering plant list for African data. Step 13, vouchers. If vouchers were collected with the census, we can also upload them at the same time as the census data altogether. Just need to know 3 things: the collection numbers, the collector code, and the herbarium that they will be deposited in. So first we will check our voucher codes. Here, they all need to be in this format with the 3 letters comprising the collector's initials and then the number of each collection. We also need to fill in the voucher collected column. If the voucher was collected from each tree, you enter 1. If it's not, but it's the same as another collected tree, we enter 0. So we have vouchers with this data. Now we need to check for a couple of things. We can do this using pivot tables. So we insert a pivot table and remove the default values. So the first thing we want to check for is that any trees with the same voucher code have the same determination. So in row labels, we enter voucher code and species. And here are the results. Yep, we can see that for each voucher code there's only one determination. All of these are without a voucher. So okay, that's fine. The second check is that we only should have one collected tree per voucher code. So we remove the species from the row labels, keep voucher code there, and then in the values column we want the sum of collected. And here are the results. So we've got one voucher that doesn't have any collected tree and another voucher with 2 collected trees. So we need to go back to our original field sheets, look up those voucher codes and check which is the collected tree for each, and then correct our data. Step 14, make our upload worksheet. Okay, so now we've checked all of our data and it's ready for upload. We can create a copy of our worksheet and call it upload. Okay, so for the upload file, we only want trees that are present in this census. So we want to delete all of the trees that have already died. So here they are, delete all of those rows. We also only want the columns from this census. We've got all the data from the previous censuses here. So we want to delete those columns too. But before we do that, copy and paste special with values the whole of your worksheet. So then if there are any formulas in any of your cells, they won't mess your data up when you start deleting columns. So right, we've done that. We can delete all the previous census data. So we're just left with this census. Again, delete the previous census notes and save. And before we upload the file, we need to record 2 numbers. The number of non-recruits and the number of recruits. We'll need these when we come to uploading the census. So check our number of tree IDs, 101. So we'd write that down. And then our number of recruits. So trees without a tree ID. 17. Okay, so we record those 2 numbers, save the file, and we're ready to upload the new census.